And she says, huh? How can this be since I'm a virgin? And the angel said, the Spirit will come upon you and you will be with child, and when he is born you shall name him Jesus. Well, think about when you were 12, 13, 14 years old. That'd be a little bit of a interesting occurrence. So Joseph and Mary are married at the time that happens, but Jewish culture, they don't get married and go on a honeymoon. There's a time period between the actual marriage and the consummation time. So that period is when this happens. So Joseph, being a good man, decided to put her away quietly so as not to disgrace her. Because being married and then all of a sudden having your wife pregnant when you didn't do it, not a good thing in Jewish culture. Well, the angel came and told him, boy, don't do it. So he did. Well, she's getting close to the end. And I see some kids in here, so that tells me once again we've had at least one or two of you ladies that have been pregnant. And you ladies know that the last 20 days is the most comfortable time of the whole pregnancy. I get that laugh every time. Well, this young couple had to travel from Nazareth to Bethlehem to be counted. Something we know today, they knew then, called the census, where they count. Now, the problem with the trip from Nazareth to Bethlehem in that time is, it's very similar to going from Waco to Fort Worth. How many of y'all have ever ridden a donkey? One of the smoothest creatures on God's green earth. Yeah, no. Donkeys are four-wheel drive.
Four-wheel drive.
All four legs have power to pull. That's why they use them in the canyons, and that's why they're animals, what do they call them? Animals of burden. Because they have the ability to move. A horse, just rear-wheel drive. Like the old 67 Camaro. Just rear-wheel drive, that's it. Well, they didn't have horses in that class back then. They would have been on a donkey. So Mary is fixing to ride 7 to 9 days. Way into the third trimester. To go to Bethlehem to get counted on that smoothest of all God's creatures. Not a great trip. The other thing sometimes we forget, because we can go from here, a couple exits down, stop at the Shell station, we can get Sonic, we can get barbecue, soda pops, we can use the restroom. Not back in that day. No convenience stores, no restaurants, no hotels, no rest stops. So these young couple, they're with more people, traveling caravans for protection, but still, not what we're used to doing traveling here in America. They get to Bethlehem. Anybody remember what the innkeeper told them? No room in the inn. He said, but you can use the stable. Now, if you've grown up in America, you've probably seen a ton of manger seats. All of them have a really nice wood. No, not in that country at that time. It was most likely a cave. That's what they used, especially around Bethlehem. There are a lot of caves. When they buried people, they buried them in caves. Not like what we do today. So what Mary and Joseph were offered was the stable. Now, if you've been to a stable, you know the essence of joy that is in a stable. So that is where Mary is going to give birth to Jesus. Now, when she gives birth, she puts him in a manger. And we have beautiful mangers, manger scene. Really nice, pretty, crib-looking bed tip. No. Most likely it was a stone manger. What does rock do when it gets cold?
It gets really cold.
It gets cold. So, the chances are that Jesus was laid in a stone manger, and when they say wrapped in swaddling clothes, that would have been the extra blankets and things that they had for the animals within the stable. Again, smelling really good. So when you think about the way that God sent Jesus to the earth, you kind of have to go, And then instead of putting it on social media, he had a bunch of shepherds. Shepherds would have been young, 14, 15-year-old boys, because it was usually the youngest of the clan that was taking care of the sheep. Again, caves used a lot in those days to put the sheep in to protect him. We know from the story of David when he has his chat with Saul, he says, I have killed the lion, I've killed the bear to rescue the sheep. So we know that there was lions and bears within that area. So there was plenty of predators. But these young boys are out in what would be the prairie, and if you've seen that area of country, it's not prairie like what we see. It's a whole lot rougher. And an angel comes to those guys and says, hey boys, you need to go to Bethlehem and see the child that was born. Now I don't know about you guys, but if an angel all of a sudden comes and starts telling me to do something, I'm going to have to stop by the house because I'm going to have to change my britches. But these young men load up and they go to Bethlehem to see the king. And hence the little drummer was born. Nobody gets that joke. Am I the only one that listened to the Little Drummer Boy when I was little? That was one of my favorite songs. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so they go. Now, the other thing about the American manger scene is the wise men and the shepherds are always together. But the reality is there was probably a 20 to 24 month span between the shepherds showing up and the wise men showing up. And you say, how do you know that? Because when the wise men left by a different venue, the way that the angel told them, said, don't go back to see King Herod, go this way. King Herod got mad, sent his guards down, and they killed every male child in the town of Bethlehem 2 years of age and under. Because he was trying to destroy what he perceived was a king that was going to take his throne. Now I tell you the story this way to tell you that Jesus didn't come into the world near as comfortable as we did. Most of us have been born in a hospital, sterile conditions, doctors, nurses, all of those things watching over us. And that's not how it worked. Jesus came in the humblest of circumstances. And one of the beauties of that whole story is that the Creator chose to make it really simple and really basic. No fanfare other than a little bit to the shepherds and a star to the wise men. The rest of the world was almost out of touch until Jesus started his ministry many moons later. But as we go through this Christmas season, I hope that as you spend time with family and friends, that you will remember the grace that was given to us several thousand years ago. And I've had two people want me to confirm that it was actually December 25th that Jesus was born on. Can't do it. It was within the winter time at that area, which if you think about it, they're a little further south of the equator, so that would put it in June or July, technically, because it was cold at the time the day occurred. But all of those points are irrelevant because you missed the point of the story, which is that God so loved the world that he gave his only son. Whosoever should believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. So as you spend time this Christmas, remember to give grace to your friends, to your family, to the ones that you don't like. I know it's hard. I haven't heard of it. But the beauty, once again, is that we can do things like this in this country, and we can share the story, and we can share trails on the Chisholm Trail and weave the wonderful message of the Father into what we do. Miss Gina is our school martyr, and she is going to lead us in a couple of songs, one for us grown-ups, and then there'll be another one